This is the head of a master.
Pause.
Please do not take that out of context. Jung Gi was a master artist, pretty much known for like drawing straight from his mind. Like he didn't just create characters, he was known for being able to kind of put worlds onto the page in extremely seamless fashion. Today I want to break down how Jung Gi uses character design and storytelling to really make his drawings come to life and turn them into more of cinematic experiences as opposed to just sketches on the page. Before we get into the fun ooey gooey stuff, Jung Gi was born in 1975 in the town of Goyangsi, located in the province of Gyeonggi-do, South Korea. He majored in art design at a local fine art school. He attended Donggyu University in Busan for 3 years, and he did 2 years in the South Korean Army as part of the Special Forces Unit. Being a part of the Special Forces Unit, he was able to memorize the array of different weapons and vehicles. And unfortunately, he did pass away October 3rd, 2022. And for someone who grew up kind of being inspired by him, his sudden death really did have an impact on me. The legacy he has left behind in being able to create these vast sketchbooks of work, to me, is just unparalleled, and will have him to be remembered as one of the greatest artists who have ever lived. Character design for Jung Gi wasn't necessarily about aesthetics, but more so about context. For example, if you drew a samurai, it's not just like a samurai with a sword standing there looking really cool. He's a warrior who seems to carry the weight of his past. A street performer isn't juggling, but it's almost like they're hustling to survive. It's like this narrative that he builds is almost more realistic than one that I could conjure up myself. That's why his characters feel so alive. They're rooted in stories, not just drawings. And it's not even like he was just sketching characters randomly. It's almost like he was a director. Every pose, outfit, prop, fantasy kind of element was a tool for building narrative depth. Let's take this illustration for example, where you have these kind of like 3 dogs in this kind of like mech suit kind of thing. And even though there isn't a background, he gives these characters purpose by detailing them with this extremely intricate machinery and like this battle axe. We can understand that there is a sense of urgency behind, what these 3 characters are kind of aiming to do. And his expert understanding of things like, guns and machinery, probably relating back to him having served in the Special Forces, just adds an extra layer of depth and realism to this otherwise probably uncanny illustration set. Here's another strong example of him using storytelling through his character design. You have this tiger who's got these kind of bombs, right? He's holding one bomb through his tail, and he's got these 3. This soldier who, is kind of operating this warplane, but you can see the way he draws the character inside this plane is extremely comical. He has his feet coming through the bottom, the bombs here as well. It's supposed to be very exaggerated, very comical. And then you have another kind of comical depiction of somebody driving this kind of war machine, this boat, his feet coming through the bottom. And even though these can kind of read as 3 separate illustrations, you could almost see this as being one separate narrative about war, bombing and destruction, as these bombs and the kind of military type artillery seems to kind of tie these 3 together. Okay, and then I have to mention this one because this is like one of my favorite pieces of drawings of all time, just because of how captivating this piece is. And again, the use of storytelling through character design. One, compositionally, this is fucking beautiful. There's this really, really kind of dark and grim gothic nature about it. And it's kind of as you go up, the more natural and the more beautiful, you could say, the life gets, right? So if you start at the bottom, you have this kind of skeleton, and you have this kind of half-dead woman, and these 2 pregnant women, these angels and demons, and then you get to the middle and it's even more gothic, right? You have these half-dead kind of demonic creatures, maybe something like a Cerberus, these hellish lords kind of down here, this kind of spike or crown of thorns, and then you get this birth, right? This evolution, which, I mean, man, I'm always taken aback by this piece just because of how immensely detailed and how wonderful the composition is. I know this wasn't necessarily about composition, but I just had to show you this piece. It's fucking amazing. Now, if you were to ask me what the most impressive part of Kim Jung Gi's work is, it's the fact that he did this spontaneously. No drafts, planning, just pure imagination flowing straight onto the paper. How exactly did he pull this off? It all goes back to this idea of having an expansive visual library. Kim Jung Gi spent years observing life, studying people, animals, vehicles, artillery, architecture, and storing those images into his mind. So when he drew, it's not like he was just improvising randomly. He was pulling from a vast database of references, which helped him to craft an extremely believable story and extremely believable characters onto his pages. He had an extremely vast knowledge of these things from doing artistic observations, training his eyes to see stories in everyday life, doing daily sketches out in the nature. And not only does doing this help you kind of expand your visual library, but it also kind of ties back to the character design, in that it helps you to understand how different people can look in real life. I mean, if you just look at the 3 different faces here, I mean, that to me is just a pure understanding of, how different people look, different builds, different emotions. I mean, just pure mastery of his craft. The kind of things he thought about drawing were unlike anything I had seen growing up. I mean, it was like mixing these fantasy elements with like an almost realistic approach to drawing, but also with a very comic heavy medium type of texture. Hopefully I can figure out a way to censor this in post, because it's also one of my favorite pieces, but it's a little bit explicit in that it shows like the nude body, which Kim Jung Gi did like to draw very often. Me personally, I don't find anything inherently sexual with the naked body, but also it just depends on context. In this piece, it's just like he uses color and it kind of fades to like a black and white kind of towards the bottom, but he still kind of keeps these bluish tattoos on her. Yeah, I mean, just extremely masterful and cinematic. Okay, now similar to my last video, I do kind of want to do something in his style, see if I can kind of get close. Get your hopes down, because it definitely won't be as good, but maybe it's a learning experience, maybe something I can kind of learn from studying his art recently. The good thing is I know exactly kind of what I want to draw. Recently I went to Goodwill to kind of look for paintings for my new place, and I found this picture of this llama and it looked really cool, so I bought it. So I kind of want to do something with like an alpaca. Like, I know this is a llama, but I want to do something with an alpaca. I don't know exactly what, maybe like a girl like with like a llama or an alpaca kind of sitting. I don't know, so I'm gonna sketch something out and then maybe we'll kind of circle back. Okay, so as I'm doing this, I'm unsure of like where I want to go. I'm trying to be as loose as possible, but I am completely out of my element here. And what I'm thinking I'll do like is like maybe there's like a fence back here, right? Or like maybe like some kind of like decrepit old like buildings. I really want to be like as loose and illustrative as possible. Maybe there's something like I don't know, like a building here, and then like behind it like you have like these like power lines that kind of go back. I don't know, we are going to play around with this and then we're gonna circle back again. I thought about kind of cutting this part out, but I think it's important to share. So I don't like this and I'm going to scrap it. I'm going to tell you why. I think I kind of attacked this from the wrong angle, and that I was trying to do this this planned illustration, and I think that hindered me. Kim Jung Gi really did kind of go at this with no sketch. Like, he really just went at it, and while my visual library might not be as deep as Kim Jung Gi's, I do think if I'm trying to kind of do something closer to that style, I don't think I can go into this with like a sketch mentality, because like the lines already look like super clean and defined. Everything just looks like too clean and too nice. Yeah, scratch this, and I'm just going to kind of trust myself. We're gonna go in, no sketch, with just a pen, and we will do this again. that was a very, very interesting experience. I can definitely say I think starting over was a good idea, because as you can see, like, there's just this kind of freeness you get out of just going at it with a pen and figuring out the details as you go and trying to build a narrative there. I did think of a story kind of idea about, this girl who just like lives in the middle of these slums with just like this alpaca, is self-sufficient off of, what she can kind of scavenge in the area. And I really just tried to, build upon that narrative as I was drawing. Kind of having like the cars in the background. I had to put some cheeks in there. I'm so sorry. I just had to put some cheeks in there. Part of that was just kind of being exposed to, how often Kim Jung Gi would draw maybe slightly suggestive material. Also, as you can see, like in the speed paint, there was a moment where I was like gonna color it, and then it just didn't feel right. I was like, because I was like kind of reverting back to, trying to make things look super, super clean. So I was like, you know what? We're gonna do like one of those kind of two kind of color things, where he kind of went at it with a more saturated, cool color. And I really, really like the way this turned out. I think it could have been 10 times better for sure. But for just like an attempt kind of right off the bat, and to be just, no sketch, just kind of go at it, I do think it turned out pretty cool. It's important to note though, since this is digital, there's so many forgiving aspects, right? I could go back and erase, I could, shift things to my liking. Kim Jung Gi didn't do that. He was just full on, just kind of balls to the wall, which really just makes me respect him a lot more. I came from a traditional background. I was fully traditional up until maybe like, 3 years ago. So while I do understand those nuances, that doesn't take away from like how masterful he was at his craft. So I appreciate you guys watching along. If you kind of like these kind of analysis type videos, make sure to follow. I don't know what kind of videos I'll be doing in 2025 this year, but I do want to kind of get the ball rolling and do some cool, fun stuff for you guys. That being said, I am Sad Boy Gum. Peace the fuck out.